Okay, listen to this. You're not going to believe what happened to me last week. I'm still kind of processing the whole thing, honestly. It's about my niece, Emma. She's 15 now. Well, she just turned 15 like 2 months ago. And she's always been this quiet, artsy kid, you know? The type who's got her headphones on all the time, drawing in these little sketchbooks, writing poetry or whatever. Sweet girl. A little weird, but in that good way where you're just like, yeah, she's gonna do something cool with her life. Anyway, so last Tuesday, I get this call at like 7 in the morning. And I'm not a morning person, right? So when my phone starts buzzing that early, I'm already annoyed before I even look at who it is. But then I see it's my sister, Emma's mom, and I'm like, okay, something's up. My sister doesn't call me before noon unless it's an emergency or she needs me to pick something up from the store. I answer, and she's already crying, like full-on sobbing. And my sister's not really a crier. She's more of the type who gets angry when things go wrong, you know? So hearing her like that, I immediately sit up in bed, and I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And she just says, Emma's gone. And I'm like, gone? What do you mean gone? She tells me Emma's not in her room. Her bed's made, which apparently is weird because Emma never makes her bed. And there's a note on her desk. My sister found it when she went to wake Emma up for school. Just a piece of notebook paper folded in half with Mom written on the outside. Now I'm thinking, okay, runaway situation. That's scary, but it happens, right? Teenagers get overwhelmed. They take off for a day or two. They come back. So I'm trying to calm my sister down, telling her, we're gonna find her. It's gonna be okay. All that stuff. And then my sister says something that makes my stomach drop. She says, but there's another note. It was in an envelope. It has your name on it. I'm like, wait, what? My name? Yeah, she says. It says for Uncle Jay on the front. I haven't opened it. I thought maybe you should see it first. And that's when I knew this wasn't just some typical runaway thing. Because why would Emma leave a note specifically for me? I mean, don't get me wrong. We're close. I've always been the cool uncle, you know? The one who doesn't lecture her about grades or curfews or whatever. When she was younger, I'd take her to comic book shops and let her stay up late watching movies her parents thought were too scary. But still, if you're running away, you leave a note for your parents, right? Not your uncle. So I throw on some clothes and drive over to my sister's house. It's like 20 minutes away, but I bake it in 12 because I'm speeding the whole way. My brain's going a million miles an hour, trying to figure out what's going on. Did something happen? Did Emma tell me something I forgot about? Was she in trouble and I missed the signs? When I get there, my sister's in the kitchen with her husband Mike. He's on the phone with the police, giving them Emma's description and all that. My sister hands me this envelope, and yeah, it's got my name on it in Emma's handwriting. That loopy, artistic kind of writing she does, where every letter looks like it took 5 minutes to make. I look at my sister, and she just nods, like, go ahead, open it. So I do. And what I read in that note, man, it changed everything. The first line was, Uncle Jay, I need you to understand something that nobody else in this family will get. I'm reading it standing there in the kitchen, and I can feel my sister and Mike staring at me, waiting for me to tell them what it says. But I keep reading because I need to know where this is going. Emma wrote that she'd been planning this for months. Not the running away part specifically, but the leaving part. She said she felt like she was suffocating at home. Not because her parents were bad or anything. She made that really clear. She said they loved her and she loved them, but she just couldn't be who they needed her to be anymore. And then she wrote this part that I'll never forget. She said, You're the only person who ever let me just exist. Everyone else is always waiting for me to be something, to be happier, to be more social, to be normal. But when I'm with you, I can just be quiet and weird, and you don't try to fix me. I had to stop reading for a second because honestly, I got a little choked up. I never realized she felt that way. I mean, yeah, I never pushed her to be anyone she wasn't, but I didn't think that was such a big deal. It's just how I am with people, you know? But then the note got more specific. She told me where she was going. Not the exact address, but enough that I'd be able to figure it out. She mentioned this art camp she'd heard about up in Northern California. Some kind of summer program for teenagers who want to do intensive creative stuff. Painting, writing, film, whatever. She'd applied for it months ago without telling anyone and got accepted. The program wasn't supposed to start until summer, but apparently they have this thing where you can come early and volunteer in exchange for room and board. She said she was going to take a bus up there and just stay, figure things out, work on her art, be around people who understood her. And then, at the very end of the note, she wrote, "Please don't let them drag me back right away. I know you're going to have to tell them where I am eventually, but can you just give me a little time? A week maybe? I need this, Uncle Jay. I need to know what it feels like to breathe." I folded the note back up and looked at my sister. She was staring at me with these desperate red eyes. And I knew I had about 5 seconds to decide what kind of person I was going to be in this situation. Mike hung up the phone and said the cops were sending someone over to file a report. They'd put out an alert, or whatever it's called, when a minor goes missing. My sister asked me what the note said, and I didn't lie exactly, but I didn't tell her everything either. I told her Emma was safe, that she'd gone somewhere she felt like she needed to be, and that she wasn't in danger. My sister was like, "Where? Where is she?" And I said I'd handle it, that I'd bring her back. Mike got pissed at that. He was like, "What do you mean you'll handle it? Just tell us where she is so we can go get her." But I stood my ground. I said Emma trusted me with this information. And if they wanted her to actually come home and not just run away again the second she got the chance, they needed to let me talk to her first. My sister looked like she wanted to argue, but something in my face must have convinced her. Or maybe she was just too exhausted to fight. She said okay, but only because it was me. So that's how I ended up driving up to Northern California the next morning with a duffel bag, a thermos of coffee, and a printed-out map to some art camp I'd found on Google. Because apparently I was the person my niece trusted most in the world. And honestly, I had no idea what I was going to say to her when I got there. The drive up was long, like really long. 8 hours if you don't hit traffic. But of course, I hit traffic because the universe has a sense of humor. So it ended up being more like 10. I had a lot of time to think. Mostly I kept replaying moments with Emma in my head, trying to figure out when things had gotten so bad for her. Like, I knew she was quiet and kinda kept to herself. But I always thought that was just her personality. I didn't realize she was actually struggling. There was this one time, maybe 6 months ago, when I took her out for pizza. Just the two of us. She'd had this big school art show thing, and I wanted to celebrate with her. We were sitting in the booth, and she was telling me about this painting she'd done. Some abstract thing with a lot of dark blues and grays, and she got really into it, you know? Her whole face lit up. She was talking with her hands, explaining what every brushstroke meant. And I remember thinking, this kid's got something special. But then her phone buzzed, and it was a text from one of her classmates. I didn't see what it said, but Emma's whole mood just tanked. She went quiet, put her phone face down on the table, and didn't really talk much the rest of the night. I asked her if everything was okay, and she just shrugged and said, "Yeah, it's fine." And I let it go because I didn't want to push. But now I'm wondering if I should have pushed, if I should have asked more questions. I guess that's the thing though, right? You never know in the moment what's actually important. You just do your best and hope it's enough. Anyway, I finally got to this town where the art camp was. It was one of those small Northern California places with a cute downtown area, lots of trees, very hippy-dippy vibes. The kind of place where everyone's got reusable tote bags and there's like 17 coffee shops per square mile. The camp itself was about 15 minutes outside of town, tucked into the woods. It was this cluster of cabins and studio buildings, all very rustic and artsy looking. There was a hand-painted sign at the entrance that said Redwood Creative Retreat, with a little picture of a tree. I parked in the dirt lot and sat there for a minute, trying to figure out my game plan. Do I just walk in and ask if they've seen Emma? Do I call her first? What if she sees me and bolts? Eventually, I decided to just go for it. I walked up to what looked like the main office, a little cabin with a porch and some rocking chairs outside, and went in. There was a woman at the desk, maybe in her 50s, with gray hair in a long braid and those round glasses that make people look like friendly librarians. She looked up when I came in and smiled. "Hi there," she said. "Can I help you?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for someone. My niece. Her name's Emma Corbett. She might have shown up here in the last day or two." The woman's smile faded a little, and I could tell she knew exactly who I was talking about. She hesitated, which was not a great sign. "Are you family?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I'm her uncle. Her parents are worried sick. I just want to talk to her, make sure she's okay." The woman nodded slowly. "She did arrive yesterday. She told us she'd gotten permission from her parents to come early as a volunteer. We didn't realize." She trailed off, looking uncomfortable. "Yeah," I said. "It's complicated. Can I see her?" The woman stood up. "Let me go get her. Wait here." So I waited. And man, those 5 minutes felt like an hour. I was nervous, which was stupid because it's just Emma, you know? But I didn't know what kind of headspace she was in. I didn't know if she'd be mad at me for showing up. Finally, the door opened, and there she was. Emma looked tired, but also kind of relieved. She was wearing this oversized flannel shirt and jeans with paint stains on them, and her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. When she saw me, she didn't smile, but she didn't look angry either. She just said, "Hi, Uncle Jay." "Hey, kid," I said. We stood there for a second, just looking at each other, and then she said, "You want to go for a walk?" We walked down this trail that led into the woods behind the camp. It was quiet except for birds and the sound of our shoes on the dirt path. Emma had her hands shoved in her pockets, and I was trying to figure out how to start this conversation without sounding like a parent. Finally, I just said, "Your mom's freaking out, you know." Emma nodded. "I know." "I'm sorry." "You should be," I said. "Running away's not cool, Em. You scared the hell out of everyone." "I didn't run away," she said quietly. "I left." I stopped walking and looked at her. "What's the difference?" She stopped too and turned to face me. Running away is when you're trying to escape something. Leaving is when you're trying to find something. I didn't have a good response to that, so I just waited for her to keep talking. I couldn't stay there anymore, she said. Not right now. Everything felt wrong, like I was living someone else's life. And I know that sounds dramatic and stupid, but it's how I felt. It doesn't sound stupid, I said, but you could have talked to someone. You could have talked to me. I did talk to you, she said. In the note. That's not the same thing. She sighed and started walking again. I followed. I knew if I told anyone what I was planning, they'd try to stop me, she said. Mom would have freaked out. Dad would have given me some lecture about responsibility. And you, I don't know, I thought maybe you'd understand, but I couldn't risk it. So you just took off? Yeah. We walked in silence for a bit. Then Emma said, "Are you going to make me go back?" And that was the question, wasn't it? That was the whole reason I'd driven 10 hours to get here. I thought about my sister, crying on the phone. I thought about Mike, pissed off and demanding answers. I thought about Emma's note, asking me for time. I don't know yet, I said honestly. Emma looked at me, surprised. I mean, yeah, eventually you're going to have to go home, I said. You're 15. You can't just disappear. But I stopped and ran a hand through my hair. I get why you needed this. I do. And maybe we can figure something out. Like what? Like maybe you stay here for a few days, I said. I'll call your mom, let her know you're safe. She's not going to like it, but tough. And then we all sit down when you get back and have an actual conversation about what's going on. No yelling, no lectures, just talking. Emma looked skeptical. You really think that'll work? I don't know, I said, but it's better than dragging you back right now and pretending everything's fine when it's obviously not. She thought about it for a minute. Then she said, Okay. Okay? Yeah, I'll come home in a few days, but you have to promise me they'll actually listen. I promise I'll make them listen, I said. Whether they do or not is up to them. Emma smiled a little at that. It was the first time she'd smiled since I got there. Thanks, Uncle Jay, she said. Don't thank me yet, I said. Your mom might actually kill me for this. She did not kill me, but she came pretty close. When I called her that night from my motel room, yeah, I got a motel because I wasn't driving 10 hours back the same day. She lost it, like full-on screaming through the phone. How could I not bring Emma home immediately? How could I let her stay there? What kind of uncle was I? All of that. I let her get it out, and when she finally stopped to breathe, I said, she's safe, she's okay, and she needs this. My sister said, she needs to be home. No, I said, she needs to know you care about why she left, not just that she left. That shut her up for a second. I told her Emma would come home in a few days, and that when she did, we were all going to sit down and actually talk. Really talk. No interrupting, no getting defensive, just listening. My sister didn't like it, but she agreed, mostly because she didn't have another choice. I stayed up there for 3 more days. I didn't hover around Emma or anything. She was doing her thing at the camp, painting and whatever. But I checked in with her every evening. We'd grab dinner at this little diner in town and just talk. About art, about life, about nothing in particular. It was nice. I hadn't spent that much one-on-one time with her in years. On the 3rd day, she said she was ready to go home. We packed up her stuff, which wasn't much, just a backpack and a duffel bag, and loaded it into my car. The woman at the camp office was really understanding about the whole thing. She even told Emma she could come back in the summer if she wanted, that her volunteer spot would still be there. The drive back was quieter than the drive up. Emma slept for most of it, her head leaning against the window. I kept glancing over at her, making sure she was really there, making sure this was all actually happening. When we pulled into my sister's driveway, Emma woke up. She looked at the house and took a deep breath. "You ready?" I asked. "Not really," she said, "but let's do it anyway." We got out of the car, and before we even made it to the front door, my sister came running out. She wrapped Emma in this huge hug, and Emma just stood there for a second before hugging her back. My sister was crying again. Happy tears this time. "Don't ever do that again," my sister said into Emma's hair. "I won't," Emma said quietly. And you know what? I believed her. We did end up having that conversation. All four of us, me, Emma, my sister, and Mike, sat in the living room that night and talked for like 3 hours. Emma explained how she'd been feeling. The pressure to be more outgoing, to have more friends, to fit into this mold of what a normal teenager should be. My sister and Mike listened. They didn't interrupt, didn't get defensive. They just listened. And then they apologized. My sister said she didn't realize she'd been pushing Emma so hard, that she just wanted her to be happy, and she thought being social and involved was the way to do that. Mike admitted he'd been worried about Emma's future, about whether she'd be able to make it as an artist, and that he'd let that worry turn into pressure. Emma cried. My sister cried. Even Mike got a little misty-eyed, which was rare. It wasn't perfect. One conversation wasn't gonna fix everything, but it was a start. And me? I just sat there on the couch, watching my family actually communicate for once, and felt like maybe, just maybe, I'd done something right. Emma ended up going back to the art camp that summer. My sister and Mike drove her up themselves, got a tour of the place, met the instructors. They even stayed for the opening day activities, which Emma said was kind of embarrassing, but also kind of nice. She's still quiet, she's still weird, but she seems lighter now, you know? Like she's not carrying around as much weight. And every once in a while, she'll text me something random. A picture of a painting she's working on, or a song she thinks I'd like, or just a, "Hey, thanks for everything." Those texts mean more to me than she probably realizes. Because at the end of the day, that note she left, the one that was meant for me, it wasn't just about her running away. It was about her trusting me to understand, and I did.